This Week. This is a program that offers crucial and significant discussions on current and weekly dominating events so as to influence change and positive development in Tanzania, in Africa, and in the world at large. Leading this program, I am your host, Caroline Maleo, and we'll be together every week at the same time and on the same day. Today we'll discuss a topic on the growth of the digital age in Tanzania. Is it beneficial or is it a burden? And to discuss the topic further, we are joined with the most respected voices in Tanzania in the digital space. We are joined with Lovelet Lwakatare, who is an innovation and partnership impact lead at Tech and Media Convergence. You're mostly welcome.
Thank you, Caroline.
But we're also joined with Mr. Mihayo Wilmore from Twiga Alpha, who is a technologist. You're mostly welcome.
Thank you so much.
Before we dig deep into the topic, let's take a look at this analysis story. In a world ruled by screens and swipes, Tanzania is at a digital crossroads. Since the early 2000s, the internet and artificial intelligence have brought progress, fueling education, innovation, and connection. Today, over 48 million Tanzanians are online. Beneath this progress, a darker wave is rising. Misinformation spreads like wildfire. Online insults replace respectful dialogue. Artificial intelligence is being misused to shame, mock, and divide. Mwalimu Nyerere once said, criticism is necessary, but it must be done with wisdom, not mockery. Yes, we must speak truth to power, but with dignity, not destruction. As digital freedom grows, so does the risk of moral confusion and cultural erosion. The real question is, are we building a smarter future or walking towards a societal meltdown? Let's reclaim our digital space. Let's raise a generation that builds, not breaks, online and offline. This is not just a tech issue. It is a call to protect Tanzania's soul in the digital age. In a world where digital platforms are shaping economies, are shaping different countries, but are also shaping the daily lives of people in the continent, what happens if those same technologies, same digital platforms become a tool to erode the very foundation of our values, of our culture, and of our ways of life in general? In Tanzania, we have seen tremendous growth in our technologies. But the question is, do we see the things that are happening, the online scams, data breaches, but also the viral spread of the immoral things that are happening online? Today, on Focus on This Week, we are asking the tougher question. Are we really prepared for the future that we are rushing into? Also, are we ready to witness the slow eroding of our culture that is brought by the digital technology? So to dive deep into the topic, as I said, we're joined with the most respected voices in Tanzania. You're mostly welcome.
Thank you so much.
I would like to know first from you, Mr. Mihayo.
Yes.
What do you think, can you tell us, can you define the digital identity of Tanzania for 2025? And how would you describe it? And do you think that we are building our own digital identity, or are we mimicking the external models that are existing?
I think to speak to that, Miss, we need to understand that the digital journey didn't start yesterday. I mean, we're sitting here today at TBC in 1989. There was no TBC. There was only the broadcasting, which was the radio. And now we have all these digital set-top boxes that allow pictures to enter into people's rooms in their houses. So at the end of the day, the digital journey started way before that, where with the advent of media, from voice to print to reading. There was a time that women were not allowed to read, right? So that is all part of the evolution of digital. Today, what we're talking about when we say digital is the personal handheld devices. that have become synonymous with our hands. So it's almost an extension. It's like a new body part. As we were teaching kids about the different body parts, the phone becomes now part of an extension of what is part of the human body. So, you know, we have wearables that take your pulse, that do all sorts of things, that monitor you, and that's the good side. But at the same time, these same devices can be used for negative issues in terms of tracking people, knowing where your partner is, and then creating a hoo-ha, and all sorts of things can be used against you, depending on what you want to be known. So at the end of the day, where are we? I think in terms of technologically, we're in the same space as everybody else in the world. There is nothing that is happening in America that is not happening here. There's nothing that is happening in Japan or China that is not happening in Tanzania, whether in a big way or a small way. But those technologies are already here. We have the connectivity. We solved that problem somewhere around in 2004, 2005, and 6. We wanted to have digital connectivity for the masses. So we launched something that is called GPRS Edge, and now that GPRS Edge is now 5G. So in terms of connectivity, we are there. In terms of devices, you can't stop someone jumping on a plane, going to Dubai, going to China, to pick up a device that will do XYZ on that 5G network or on that 4G network. Maybe the difference is maybe months or weeks in terms of the deployment, but the iPhone 16 Pro is already here. You know, there's nothing that happens anywhere in the world that a launch happens that a Tanzanian doesn't get that product. It's now whether do we have everyone in the digital space? Are we leaving anyone behind, right? The issue now becomes that digital divide. How big do we want that digital divide to be, right? Yeah. And what is the role of private sector, public sector, and regulators in terms of bridging, making sure that no one is left behind? Or do we want everyone on that bus? And I think those are the kind of questions that you were asking in your introduction. Should everyone be in that space, right?
Thank you so much. Yes. Should everyone be in that space? Coming to you, Lovelet, what do you think? Do you think we're building something new, or are we mimicking the external models? And can you also explain about the digital identity of Tanzania for 2025?
Oh, thank you. So, like he has explained, the previous speaker, we are already on the digital ecosystem. We are the same. We are equal players with every other country that is in the digital space. And what comes as a unique identity for us is an opportunity to define and shape our own infrastructures, and ensuring that the context is informed by our own local values and what is actually happening in Tanzania. So are we currently mimicking, and what is our current status of national digital ID? It is quite questionable. We must acknowledge some of the barriers that exist in our own country in terms of expertise, in terms of our ability to have influence in the global agenda. And we must also acknowledge our surrounding neighbors. Where are they at in terms of also shaping their own digital identities? For instance, looking at a country like Rwanda, some of the countries in Africa, in East Africa, that are actually acknowledged on their digital identities is Rwanda and Kenya, for instance. And looking that they already have things like their AI national policies, and we are just drafting our own. So as much as the technological and digital space is very fastly evolving, we must also be a part of taking this as a race rather than something that we have to do at our own pace. Because the current regional and continental and global trends is a lot more of collaborations, it's a lot more of interconnectedness. So we as Tanzania have to look at what's in the interest of our own country and our own people, especially in defining our national identity, and how do we want to take control rather than waiting for our agenda or perspective to be shaped by other countries. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. so much. So artificial intelligence is here.
Yes.
Whether it is, because she has explained about it,
Yes.
whether it is facial recognition or deep fakes or ChatGPT,
Yes.
that majority of young people are using it.
Yes.
Is Tanzania ready? And is it capable to take control into these technologies, or are we already being manipulated without even knowing?
That's a very difficult question. The reason it's difficult is because you asked a fundamental question about mimicking. Mimicking means that we are just doing what others are doing and then we're putting a face on it. I'll give an example of music. Is bongo flavor a subset of hip hop, an American phenomenon that came out of America, or is bongo flavor its own genre? As bongo flavor got bigger and bigger, it became its own genre because it defined its own rules. But as it started as bongo hip hop, way early in the 90s, it started as a mimic of what was happening in America. But today you cannot say that what we're doing in Tanzania is what is happening in the studios in New York or in LA. So the issue becomes that in the onset, in the building blocks of what AI is today, we are nowhere near a significant player. Even Madam here said, we are developing policies. I would say we are adopting frameworks of policies that have been handed down to us based on someone else's interest in what they want to do. Do we really understand the deepness, like you said, the deep fake of those policies in our country? I don't think so. If we go back to the fundamentals of computer science, we go and say that computers speak in ones and zeros, and that is logic. The reason it does that is because it is men who invented that. So there's a gender bias in how computers work. They work in logic. Men work with logic. And because men work in logic, it means that computers work in logic because it is the men who were inventing these computers in the 60s, in the 50s, and in the 40s. Because there were very few women scientists in computer science. Right?
Yeah.
Not that women did not play part, but it is men who influenced. So the fundamental question I always ask Tanzanians, or I always ask the world, is that if women were there equally at the forefront of creating computers, would computers have emotions? So it's the same thing now with the AI. If Tanzanians, forget Africans, if we as Tanzanians played part in the very development of artificial intelligence, would AI think like a Maasai? Would AI think like a Lugulu? Would AI think like a Nyamwezi? Because that thinking that you're talking about, you say, oh, the computer is smart. It is thinking. It is machine learning. But it is learning based on whose cosmology, whose ethos. So that is a philosophical question now, saying that, okay, these AI things are thinking. But they're thinking for you based on whose? Are they thinking as a Marxist, as a communist, as a socialist, right?
Yeah.
As a Nazi, or as a capitalist? So when you get that answer from AI, it benefits who? So that's the end result. Who is it benefiting? At the end, at the bottom of it, all the way at the bottom, where you break it down to the smallest segment, which is a 0 and a 1, how did it come about? Who taught it? Who was that teacher? If Nyerere invented AI, or if Nyerere taught AI, then we would say, yes, it has a Tanzanian philosophy, because huyo ndo baba wa taifa.
Yes, definitely.
But then, it is not Nyerere.
Yeah.
So who was it? Was it some scientist? Okay, do you really want a Mihailo, the way he thinks as a scientist, as a computer technologist, to define the way a whole society lives? Better yet, the biggest controversy now is Elon Musk. Do you want an Elon Musk who has the capability of defining artificial intelligence in the world, to define how we do business or how we live, our morals in Tanzania today. Because those are the people who are sitting there who are defining how AI thinks. It is not Ngugi, it is not Chinua Achebe, right?
Yeah, right.
It is not Langston Hughes, it is not Martin Luther King, it is not Malcolm X. It is not people who look like us. That's number one. They don't even look like us. Secondly, they're not even the same gender as you.
Sad.
So now, should we mimic? Okay, and now at what point in that mimicking will it now become more like Miss? More like Miss. Right? Or more like Mrs. Or more like Mrs. And then more start looking like, and that's now becomes now the herd mentality. At which point are the people controlling the AI going to let it out into the world for it to do what it needs to do? So that's where my mind is in terms of the complexity of all these things. That's why I say we're not yet there. We're not even talking about the fact that we do not have the computing power. We might have the storage power. We have a beautiful data center, which is somewhere around here. But do we have the processing power to be able to do what AI needs us to do? Even, for example, the Kiswahili that AI spits back to you, is it approved by Bakita? If Bakita goes and reads that Kiswahili, will it say, yes, approved? Or no, this is not approved. This cannot go to primary school or secondary school.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mihayo. We have heard him, Mr. Mihayo, that he said AI thinks like who created it. What is your take? What do you think about this? And do you see that we have a future? Can we make our own AI, African AI, that will think like our own people, our own culture, and protect the young people and protect our culture in general? What do you think?
Thank you. And Mr. Mihayo has given a very good, he's dissected what AI, the context of AI is currently. And based on your question, it's, we cannot escape AI. It's here to stay. Like any other new thing that we've had to adopt as a culture, as a nation, as people. So it's here to stay. And I think we should look at it with a positive attitude as an enabler rather than trying to put a whole lot of regulations to stop this, to stop that, and look at it in a way that we can smarten our own processes and ways of life. For instance, in the context of Tanzania, we can start shaping our AI agenda, channeling it to sectors like agriculture or healthcare, information systems, where it's actually needed and where it's going to enable our economy to benefit the dividends of the digital world. But also we must look at AI and adopt it, considering that we have to be responsible and we have to set up accountability structures that enable the AI system that we contextualize in our country to normalize ethical use of AI, but also responsible use of AI. For instance, our organization, Tech and Media Convergency, we launched a report on and trainings on AI development for media journalists. And through that, we've seen the challenges that AI could influence newsrooms, whereby journalists could prepare content that lacks the human or citizen-informed stories. And that itself is a compromise of ethics in journalism, but AI is here to stay. It's about us taking the lead in enabling AI users, AI consumers to be responsible, but also enabling ethical frameworks that are here. But also coming to the responsibility of government and all stakeholders, honestly. We need to adopt the multi-stakeholder approach in adopting AI and shaping the systems required, because in the end, when AI needs data, we must ensure that data is accurate. Like the way Mr. Mihayo has said, AI, the current AI, is not made by us. But then we now have the opportunity to make it. how are we making it? We must ensure that we feed the AI that we have with accurate data so that it cannot later on compromise these very sensitive sectors that AI could be used, sectors like healthcare, but also compromise privacy. Mr. Mihayo mentioned an example of how it could be misused, how digital technologies could be misused. But this is also an opportunity for us to adopt an AI system which earns public trust. It's very important so that people are brought in to use technology rather than starting to have fears of using technology and adopting them. Because if citizens fear adopting technology, we'll be missing out in the benefits, huge benefits of technology and what AI can bring to us as a country. So my take is AI should be applied in a smarter way and enhance sectors that could be beneficial for us in the digital economy.
Thank you so much. I love it. Mr. Mihayo, what do you think, how can we, because she explained more on how we can turn AI into our collaborator instead of our enemy, because it is here and it is here to stay. What do you think? How can we turn AI into our collaborator in other sectors?
Okay, so in the general sectors such as engineering, road building, sectors that have no emotional or societal impact. Meaning that, yes, they will have impact that you build better roads. Like if you're building a building, right, AI is very useful to tell you that if you have 400 square meters, you cannot build a building that is 60 stories high because it won't work, right? But then when you come to what your premise was in terms of societal norms, whereby you're influencing a human being, you're not influencing a sector or a process. AI is very good to learn from in terms of processes, because the way you build a wheel in China is the same way you build a wheel here. If you're building a wheel for a bicycle, it's a bicycle. You can say now, this bicycle, I want it for a person who's 300 pounds versus for a person who is 20 kilos. So then the AI will be very good to do that. If you're building a building and you're saying the material I'm using is wood versus concrete, AI will be able to tell you very well how to do that. But if now you're going into, for example, learning outcomes of a child, right? It becomes very difficult for you to introduce AI into a classroom because the pedagogy and the paradigms for Tanzanian education system, such as NECTA, is not embedded in the AI. So now, that child is going to go in there and find a formula that says that for you to do a simultaneous equation, the best way to do it is this way. And then he goes and answers that on NECTA. But that's not what was taught in the classroom. And you'll get it wrong. So now that's where the conflict comes. And I'm giving you where education is education. The conclusion of a simultaneous equation is the same. But the formula and the process of arriving at that answer, the way it's taught by Mwalimu Ndosi, Mwimbili Primary, Sindio, and kindergarten teacher Frank at Georgetown High, two different things. So the marking, they'll be marked wrong. And that is why you find that even when Tanzanian students take the SATs to go into American universities, they come out weaker, but once they get into the classroom in America, they excel. Smarter, they are smarter. Why? Because of the difference of the way things are taught and things. So for basic, traditional, corporate things, AI can work. You can use the same system. A brick is a brick, a cup is a cup. Silicon is silicon. But when you go down to now the social issues that you're talking about, that where is it going to erode us, right? Okay, you plug in AI, rights for LGBTQ. They come. But then how do you adopt them in an African context? It is different. The way we handle that situation is very different than the way Western culture handles that situation. Right? You know, you say you have multiple identities. okay, you have multiple identities. We will take you and we'll pray for you. But those are all issues in how each country or each culture looks at something, right?
Yes.
So that's where the problem becomes, when you enter it into the societal norms, which are more complicated. Because even within Tanzania, there's different societal norms. When you go to Moshi, the rules are different. When you go to Sukumaland, the rules are different. When you go to Nyasaland, the rules are different. And that's where I think I have issues with AI, where I feel that it is not a direct fit. Right?
Yeah.
That it doesn't fit directly. That we need to do a little bit more work there. Because I was talking to a friend about how AI can be used to preserve language. I think the most fundamental place where AI can be used is to preserve languages. Most of us, we have a mother tongue.
Yeah.
My mother is Nyamwezi, but I don't speak Nyamwezi, I speak Swahili. But I speak excellent English. Right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, how can we use AI to preserve the Nyamwezi language so that 50 years from now, someone who takes interest in Nyamwezi can understand that a leaf in Nyamwezi is this, in Kiswahili it's this, in English is this. So comparing this, and all of it is a glass of water. Right? That's where AI can be used. But are we doing that? We're not doing it. So if you cannot preserve language itself, it means that you cannot preserve culture. Right? Because I'm told that in the Chaga culture, if someone brings you this leaf called a sale or something and gives it to you, you're supposed to forgive them. But that's not the case in Nyamwezi or Haya or any of those cultures. So who is preserving that? And that's where AI will play a role. But we're not even doing that at the cultural level. We're not even using it to preserve Kiswahili. The Kiswahili in Dar es Salaam is different from Unguja, it's different from Pemba, it's different from anywhere else. So how positively we can use it in industry. I have no issues with AI in industry. There's enough guardrails and rules for that. But AI in social media, AI in cultural influence, it's a problem.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mihayo. AI is indeed a very big topic. We need another day to just dive deep into it. But I'm curious. I read a number of reports from Media Convergence that you're talking about online safety and more. So I'm curious about the vulnerable groups, the women and the children. Are they safe online? Because you can see a parent giving maybe their devices to the children and they're using them. And sometimes the ads or the things that the parents were watching, maybe they come and the children watch them. These are the things that are eroding our morals. Can you explain more about this? And can you also explain about the uncensored and unfiltered contents online?
Oh, thank you. Yes, Tech and Media Convergence has conducted several studies to measure the impact of online behaviors towards vulnerable groups, and we've directly dealt with women through our Women at Web project, where we released several reports, and one of the reports is the Echoes of Harm, where we dissected technology, gender-based violence towards women, and in the eyes of the victims who had actually experienced online gender-based violence. And it was quite a very depressing report, because just like Mr. Mihayo had explained previously, I'm still on AI, but the use of social media is an extension of human character. And this time around, with digital technologies, it's actually more amplified and echoed, because people run on social media with anonymous identities. Information spreads quite quickly, and it covers a whole lot of people. You know, you could release a content in 5 minutes, and it has a reach of about even 20 million people and engagement. So in terms of vulnerable groups who are traditionally protected and they experience disadvantaged situations. It's now an extension on online, what is actually happening online to protect vulnerable groups. And from the reports and studies that we conducted, we realized that specifically with women and girls, there's a whole lot of online-based gender violence, and that would be about most of the participants we had. It was more of unsolicited or personal images being leaked online, but also things like, for instance, revenge porn, but also the online harm and verbal abuse that women leaders, for instance, faced. These are women parliamentarians, because in our program we also did a study on women in leadership and women in parliament specifically. Themselves as public figures face that amount of abuse online. And so this is, in the end, this has kept women and young girls from taking part in the digital space and the online space and social medias. They refrain from using their real identities, and this definitely, in a democratic framework, and taking it online, definitely it hinders them from their own rights to take part in meaningful conversations and dialogue. So it's been really a downfall. And so this extension goes also to young children who would see people doing studies or taking videos, and their images or identities are unprotected. It's quite sad for us as a country, and this is a wake-up call and call into action on us to extend the already available constitutional frameworks and guarantees to the citizens of Tanzania, and taking all these frameworks into the policies, the regulations that we establish around the use of digital spaces. For instance, in some of the reports where we've worked with the Tanzania police forces, it's only from 2022 where police started acknowledging online gender-based violence that was reported to the police. That is only in 2022, but such cases way back. So it's quite a conversation that is definitely needs to be heard, but also we need to call on board a whole lot of more researchers to study on the extent and the new approach and dynamics of how these vulnerable groups are being affected by digital technology abuses that are ongoing. Yes.
Thank you so much.
If I can add to that.
Yes, Mr.
One of the things that is strange is that AI can do all these amazing things, right? You can enter your topic for your university thesis, and the AI can write the whole thesis. But why isn't the same AI fixing this problem? Again, it goes to the intention of what it was built for. It serves no purpose if you post a picture and it gets 20 million hits. Who is benefiting? The network carrier, the one who's selling you the data bundle, because more data bundles are used. So who does it serve to filter content? It doesn't serve the ones who are selling you the connectivity. That's number one. It also doesn't serve the person who has that platform. Because now you're saying go into Facebook, into WhatsApp, and make sure that you're filtering content. When you filter that content, the usage of that particular channel becomes less. Right?
Definitely.
So at the end of the day, you have to go back to who is it serving. This same AI that can write you a master's thesis and get you an A cannot go and identify that this is a child. That this child is watching Teletubbies, do not put porn. This child, the mother has now shifted. The camera is there. The same AI is interacting with the camera. It's looking at your eyesight. It's looking at your movements. And you're telling me it can't tell that this is an adult and this is a child. It's not true.
It's not true.
So at the end of the day, these are the confounding questions, that moral issues and ethical questions. And that's why I said it's an issue of who does it serve? Whose interest? Because the more you skew AI to a moral or the more you skew technology to be more moral, more ethical, to be a good person, right? Let's assume we want a good person to be there. It becomes less and less attractive for the masses.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mihayo. Right there on social media, I recently watched a documentary, a Netflix documentary that is called The Social Dilemma.
Yes.
And on this documentary, it reveals how platforms like X, like TikTok, like Instagram exploit the user attention for profit.
Yes.
So I'm curious to understand, where is the line between business growth and public digital ethics?
The line is drawn by those who are affected by it. And that is why it is important to have a very knowledgeable legislative body, right? Meaning that the next set of lawyers that you're producing that are getting approved by the bar exam, they need to be IT savvy. The next set of parliamentarians, they need to be IT savvy. The next set of leaders, top leaders, ministers, presidents, they need to be IT savvy. Because you have two sets of voters. The same Mihayo in real life, right? If we're talking about government and the governance, right? The Mihayo you see in real life, who's walking physically, is not the same Mihayo who's online. In fact, the Mihayo online might be 4 different people. Mihayo LinkedIn, Mihayo Facebook, Mihayo Snapchat, and Mihayo Instagram.
Yes.
And then you have Mihayo Wilmore, the real person.
And you forgot Mihayo TikTok.
Well, Mihayo TikTok, who's just doing dance videos, right? And all of those people are different human beings living in the same person, right? So now the dichotomy of all that becomes now, okay, who are you dealing with? So even if you go into a court of law, you will say, okay, but that's TikTok. I can do that on TikTok. You cannot hold me accountable because I was doing a dance video on TikTok. You cannot fire me in the office because you think this is inappropriate. That's my personal space, right?
Yeah.
That is my personal space. I can do all the silly things I want to do on TikTok. But it does not reflect who I am in the office. So how do you dissect that? So who do you need to do this? You need, and this is a joke, by the way. It's a joke that we have in the office. Okay. That Mihayo, you should run to be digital mbunge. You need an MP who sits on the internet, one MP of infrastructure. So he advocates what goes through the pipes. And then you need another MP, member of parliament, who looks at social media, an MP of social media. Because that's a constituency within itself. And then you need another MP who will deal with MP of legislation and digital media. Right?
And I think instead of member of parliament, what if, don't you think we need an administrator, not MP?
No. You need to start first by having someone who has a personal interest in that community of people. Because TikTok is a community.
Yeah.
How many Tanzanians are on TikTok? 1.2 million. Okay. Let me know one member of parliament who has 1.2 million people in his constituents.
No.
Facebook, 3.4 million people. That's a constituency.
Yeah.
It's a ward. And then in that you have those that are interested in this and this. So you need to have MPs in each, and this is not something that I'm telling you that it is not happening. One of those Scandinavian countries has an ambassador to Silicon Valley to influence how their country deals with anything that comes out of Silicon Valley. So not an ambassador in the UN, not an ambassador in Washington, D.C., but an ambassador in Silicon Valley to deal with all these Facebook, blah, blah. I think it's Norway or Sweden. It has an ambassador.
Okay.
So if you don't have an ambassador who every day wakes up in the morning and says, hey, Facebook, what are you doing? How are you impacting my country? Hey, TikTok, what are you doing? How are you impacting my country? Then you're not playing the game right. You can create all these policies and regulations, but you need people at that policy, ambassadorship, I don't know what it's called, governance, right? You know, you have an ambassador to Korea. Togolani is ambassador to Korea.
Yeah.
Okay, who's your ambassador to Facebook? So that when a member of parliament is defamed on Facebook, your ambassador goes there and advocates for that thing to be posted down. You can't leave this to TCRA. It's not a TCRA issue. It's not an FCC issue. It's not a Tanzania Media Society issue. It is between that ambassador, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, digital, and Facebook.
Okay.
That's the level we need to be talking. Not talking here at the ground level like these things are just companies. They're not companies. They influence how people live. You know very well that people die due to social media.
Definitely.
People have committed suicide.
Yeah. And a lot is happening because of social media.
Yeah.
Do you think...
Go ahead.
Do you think what Mr. Mihayo is saying is implementable? Do you think that can be done?
It is absolutely done. If at all our country acknowledges that it is a democratic country, and democracy is dynamic and ever-evolving, we need to contextualize it with what is currently happening globally, based on also the opportunities that we have as a country, but also the challenges that we do experience. And especially looking at the digital technologies as it's high time that our country shows itself, and its governance structures need to prove to its people that they are very human and citizen-centered. If there's any time that our government structures need to prove that, it's now. So that is what supports what Mr. Mihayo has just said, that at least I think we need a digital ambassador. And we need all these people are in these social media platforms well represented on their opportunities and challenges. Like, for instance, you've mentioned there are people who commit suicide because of social media. There are people who looking for ways to reach their representatives through social media. There's a whole lot of conversations, meaningful dialogues that go on social media. And there's a whole lot of different countries where people influence government policy and legislature through social media. So this is the time where our country really needs to be very agile to adapt the new technologies and just incorporate it in the digital democratic framework that we already have that is existing.
Thank you so much, Lovelet. And if the government will implement that, what do you think what is the way forward now in ensuring that these young people who are the majority of the social media users or the AI users, because we cannot just blame the government. We cannot just direct this to the government. What about the users, the young people? How do we make sure that we create responsible behaviors, online behaviors amongst these young people?
I would say it is as simple as the reason why children wake up in the morning and brush their teeth and take a shower.
Okay. Can you explain that?
I mean, we all wake up in the morning. The first thing we do before we leave our house is we brush our teeth. We take a shower, we make sure we're clean, we smell good, we put on some clean clothes, and we go. That is a social norm, right?
Yeah.
If someone comes in here in their underwear, you would be like, oh, what's wrong with you?
What's happening?
Absolutely.
But to be honest with you, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Because if that was the norm, then we would have been born with clothes.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you is that wearing clothes, wearing shoes, wearing a suit is a social norm. But it is taught through society. That if you want to be a good citizen, you must wear shoes, you must wear pants, and men don't wear dresses, women wear dresses, and so on and so forth. And these are the acceptable dress codes, right? So that is embedded within our social teaching, right?
Yeah.
Just like it is accepted that to be literate, to be educated, you have to be able to read and write and speak. But it has nothing to do with your intelligence. So it's the same thing with social media. Social media needs to start at the ground level. right?
Yeah.
As you're grooming the child, as the child is going to school, from grade 1, grade 2, how do we use social media? We use social media to advertise. We use social media to post positive things. 1 + 1 is 2, right? And it goes until it goes to the university level. You say, we use social media to empower our country. We use social media to be positive.
Yeah.
And then it grows into now a positive trend, right? And that is not what is happening. What has happened is that we built a network, we gave people phones, we started making money on bundles, and we told the citizen, you will figure out how you're going to use this thing. You're not putting any rails on this.
Okay, so Mr. Mihayo, with what you just explained, so do you think we should maybe introduce this in our education curriculum?
It's not just education, it's in everyday life. We did not learn how to brush our teeth at school.
We learned
it at home.
Yeah.
Bibi taught us, Dada taught us, Mommy taught us. Somebody reinforced, did you brush your teeth this morning? No, if you don't brush your teeth, people are not going to talk to you because your breath smells. So how do you teach children to use social media or phones responsibly, or to use digital platforms responsibly? Because today it's a digital platform that is visible, correct? It's a phone that is visible. In the next 25 years, it is embedded in you.
Yeah.
It's in my eyes. I could be sitting here and I'm scrolling the web. It's embedded on my hand. Her phone already, she's halfway there already. That thing is reporting what is happening in her body. So at the end of the day, we need to think 100 years from now, right? You're talking about AI. Okay, AI now is a computer that you go to. What happens when AI becomes a robot that looks just like you? How then when are we going to create, what is our take on a digital Arduino machine? Is that a Tanzanian citizen? Can we kill it? Should we be able to switch it on and off? Does it have rights? Because now it looks like you. It's walking like you, right? Same thing with a dog, a cow. There's an ethical way that we deal with animals. So should there be an ethical way we will deal with robots? Okay, 50 years from now, 25 years, maybe 10, 20 years, I die. But then somehow I talk to my friends at MIT and I say, I want you to take my brain and put it into a capsule. And then that brain continues living. But my body is dead. Mihayo as a human is dead, but my brain keeps living and keeps generating thought. Are you allowed to kill it? That's how far we need to think. So when we say that it has to be something that is coming in at a day-to-day level, whereby don't eat with your left hand, eat with your right hand. Don't post pictures of you that are doing a certain thing. That's the same as eating with your left hand and your right hand. It's that simple. But when we created these platforms, when we introduced these platforms into society, they did not come with rules. So everybody is creating their own rules. So now the regulation, the rules, the social norms, the ethos, the cosmology is coming after this thing has already been introduced into our society. And that is where the problem is. You see, it's like, you know, God gives you 9 months before the baby comes. So that's preparation. The baby is here. This is like a father who's been, a bad example, but a father who's just been brought a baby at the doorstep. This is your child, take care of it. And it's none of my business. I did the 9 months, you take care of the baby. Now that father is sitting there, he's in a 1-bedroom house by himself. No baby formula, no training, no understanding of how a baby, he's not capable of breastfeeding this baby. So now we're seeking help. Mama mdogo, please come. How do I take care of this baby? Yes, you created a baby, but do you know how to take care of that child? That's where we are.
That's where we are.
Yes.
AI is already here, social media is already here.
It's all here.
It's already here, and are we late to fix this?
The baby is here, we can fix it.
Okay.
But how do we fix it? It's a collaborative effort. That's why we're saying you can't point fingers. You can't say, oh, it's the telcos. Oh, it's media convergence. Oh, it's the Mihayos who were doing business and they brought internet. Because internet brought social media, brought this. So everyone has their fault to take, but nobody is fully at fault.
Okay.
And everybody is profiting, except the society at large. So who is responsible to say, stop. Let's create a rule. Who is going to tell that father, okay, don't panic. Sit. This is how you change a diaper. This is how you make formula. This is how you do this. And that's what everybody is not doing. Nobody is saying, stop, relax. Now you need to change your schedule. You need to hire a dada. While you're at work, you need a dada. Or bring the child to my house. I'll take care of the child. Then you will pick up the child. Who's going to create that new framework? That's what we're all lazy not doing.
It is a collective effort, and everyone should take action.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mihayo. Now coming to Lovelet, can you tell us, how do you think we are going to create responsible digital behavior among these young people?
Well, like Mr. Mihayo has said, it's back to the daily routines and social norms that we establish for ourselves in society. But also I see it as a very urgent need for our government to come together and collaborate with different stakeholders in the ecosystem to heavily invest in research and development. It's an area that we really need to focus on. If there's anything we need is investing and shaping our digital infrastructures in our own context. That is how we can help the young people now, but also the future generations. And also when it comes to how do we move forward is taking into account the current innovators and also startups, ensuring that where we hub innovators and the startups is a place where ethics are formulated. We have a common agenda of how we're moving forward and actually making use of the opportunities available in digital technologies. Because what we see in young people now is the curiosity to learn, the curiosity to earn money, the curiosity to create content. But how are we providing guidelines for them to be responsible and ethically feed data that is needed in all these digital technologies in different formats? That is very important. As much as different stakeholders are involved and need to come together in shaping all these dynamics, but we must acknowledge that government has an upper hand and in the context of our own country, and we urge the government to have a very positive attitude, a collaborative one, but also acknowledging that our neighboring countries, but also the continental authority, the African Union, and different global stages where the government can seek collaborations, can feed and have digital ambassadors who represent our own agenda, and especially the agenda of young people. Because as much as I am a millennial myself, but we also have Generation Z, we have the Generation Alpha, whom their interests need a whole lot of research, need people who listen, need government that listens, because what we're shaping now is a future that they are going to live in. And what we're living now is a future that was shaped by previous leaders and governments. So government role is very important and very key, and we are looking forward to government really taking a lead and coming up with actual, implementable and actionable ways we can move forward. Regulations are good, policies are good, but we need real action that we can actually see amongst innovators, amongst researchers, in academia, in business people, in private sector, public sector, CSOs ourselves, the media community, a whole lot of stakeholders, but we definitely do need government willingness, yes.
Thank you so much, Lovelet. I am really, really grateful. Thank you for your time, for discussing with me this topic today. Dear TBC1 viewers, we're reaching the end of our program for the day. And today, actually, we discussed about the growth of the digital age in Tanzania, if it is beneficial or is it a burden. And actually today, to dive deep into the topics, I was with Mr. Mihayo Wilmore from Twiga Alpha, who is a technologist, but I was also with Ms. Lovelet Luakatare, who is an innovation and partnership lead. And actually, they have discussed deeper about the topic, and they have talked about the significance of collective effort in tackling the challenges that are brought by artificial intelligence. And actually, they have also explained that AI is here and it is here to stay. So everyone has a role to play to tackle the challenges that we're facing, both the government, the private sector, and the young people themselves and the society at large. A real action is actually needed, not just words. You were with me, your host, Caroline Meleo, for the program today. Let's meet again next week at the same time and on the same day on Focus on This Week. Bye-bye.
Unaangalia TBC1, ukweli na uhakika.